actually out here in New York City today, and I was just thinking about how crime is, and I don't want to jinx myself, is crime is not something that I'm concerned about. It's something that I really think about. I've been right in the middle of, the hood, one of the most dangerous, supposedly one of the most dangerous parts of, I shouldn't say supposedly, it is one of the most dangerous parts of the country. And I was in one of the most dangerous parts of that particular neighborhood as well. However, the reality of the dangers there versus the perception are there's quite a divide between the two, as well as the reality of crime in America versus the perception. There's also a divide. Is chilling in the right, chilling in New York City, not really worried about crime. Not because I'm in a bubble, like I'm out here, like I'm out there, I'm out on the streets, you know. Um, where does that come from? Is it I'm just like some naive person that just doesn't get it or something? Uh, no, I am actually the way that I thought was a little bit different. I would be the one most paranoid about crime, right? I'll be one to get money, you know, yeah, that's a good example. So like for example, financially, I have, you know, for quite some time, most of my life, I've lived well under my means. Why? I was born in a third world country. We didn't have running water. We didn't have electricity, right? So I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to not have. And no matter how much successful I have been able to get in life, that never left me. You know, the fear about, getting in a financial, struggle, especially not having the rich dad or the rich mom to bail me out. So I'm not some privileged person in some bubble, but yet I'm not here worried about, gas prices. I'm not here worried about crime. Why is that? What is so different about me that I have a different perspective of these things? Um, so I not only would tend to live under my means, but I like to have a backup plan and a backup plan for that. Another good example of, but I've been a big extreme sports person. Today, I'm still very much into sport bike riding, which that's has a high fatality rate. It's very dangerous. We don't have airbags. We don't have a cage like in a car. If I make a mistake, I wouldn't go out there and say like I'm like some super brave person or whatever. Again, my personality type is the type that would be the most afraid, that you never catch me on a bike. In fact, people who know me, a lot of like I don't I'm not a big social media guy. I'm not a big like bragging and whatever. So people have known me for decades and don't know that I ride motorcycles, and they're shocked. They don't see me as a type to do something like that because they know, they can see, I'm risk averse, right? So how does a person like me, who's concerned, very like I'm very analytical, right? So I think about stuff like, what if this on a motorcycle? Well, that's because there's another side to my personality. I'm an analyst professionally, and that's just how my personality is. It's how I think, right? So I do analysis of things, and through that analysis, I find ways that I can make things work. So, for example, a motorcycle is very dangerous. Okay, well, my analysis goes and looks at, or I do an analysis of it, and I say, okay, what makes it dangerous? And are there ways that I can mitigate those risks? So I say, okay, I spent a lot of time when I was learning, and even beyond learning, looking at videos of motorcycle crashes, right? Why are people crashing? Why are they dying? Why is the risk so high, right? That's the way that my mind operates. I want to understand the problem. right? So a key distinction why I come to a different conclusion, why I'm in a different place than many people, is because I'm a very logical thinker. I'm very logic based as opposed to emotional based. My emotions would tell me never ride a sports bike. It's dangerous and stupid. Why would you want to do something like that? Why would you want to do something where it has a high fatality rate, right? That is what my emotions would lead me to, but my emotions don't guide me, right? My logic does, my analysis of risks, right? And my analysis that brings me to strategies in terms of how I would mitigate risk. So motorcycles, right? I study the accidents, I study what the risks are, and I come up with ways and how I can avoid those risks, right? So I study the why people are failing, that other people that ride, and then I also master the craft, right? I decide I'm not going to just be a casual guy. I'm going to go to a school, right? I've been on racetracks as well. I've bought a lot of books, DVDs. I've spent a lot of time practicing, right? I know that you can do all the stuff you want and still something happen. When it's your time, it's your time. But what I do is I stack the odds in my favor. So I make it so that I am I have a skill level at which if I run into trouble, I have a high probability of getting out of it. And also, I have enough skill and knowing what the risks are to avoid being in trouble in the first place. So that's the thing. I'm a very defensive rider. I don't have a lot of incidents where, I know, I almost crashed or something like that, right? Because of the way that I ride. I spend a lot of time and years studying the risks, studying, why other people were failing, dying, right, getting seriously injured. And I learned from their mistakes. It's a big tactic that I use. I learn from the mistakes of others. I observe what other people are doing. I look at where the failures are, and I avoid doing the things that they're doing that I see leading to a conclusion that I want to avoid, right? And that's the way I look at a lot of things in life. So let's get to the topic of the video, right? I wanted to talk about crime and gas prices, right? So I used to live in New York City a very long time ago in the late 90s. Crime, if I'm not mistaken, was much higher than it is now, right? I was in New York City, I think in the late 80s as well. Crime was much higher than it is today, yet I don't remember it being as much talked about as it is today. There is this rhetoric that we're getting from the media, and remember what the media's job is: to drive clicks, right? And one of the best ways to do that is to toy with the emotions of your audience, right? Fear-mongering is very profitable. And there's many people who are aware of this and will point it out, but yet themselves will fall for fear-mongering of the media. It's very interesting. I know some people do that. They talk about it, but yet they still fall for it, right? That is the business media is in. It is a big part of it is driving clicks through fear-mongering, right? So again, I used to live in New York City when crime, if I'm not mistaken, was much higher than it is now. If you look at the record, crime has been going down, 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 down for a very, very long time, right? Yet, when it was higher crime, I don't remember so much conversation about how dangerous things are. Back in those days, the focus on crime was more isolated to high crime areas, right? So it wasn't just like New York City is dangerous. It was Bronx is dangerous. I remember the idea of getting lost and you get off of the wrong exit and you're in the Bronx and it's like, oh my goodness. You know what I mean? Like, oh no, I'm in the Bronx. We're gonna die. Like, I mean, that was really, like, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, that was kind of how the thought process was, because the Bronx was pretty grimy back then. But there wasn't then in general, like, New York City, high crime, right? Not like how I hear people talking today. And I don't think it's any surprise that we hear this rhetoric in the media, right? I think people need to put their ego aside and realize we all have this very mushy brain. We see faces in clouds. We are very susceptible to manipulation. I think it's very important that we realize that so that we can not allow these corporations and independent individuals in the media to take advantage of us and manipulate us for profit, right? Um, I I'm aware that there was a spike of crime that happened during the pandemic. But here's one thing. I want to show you how irrational we are as human beings, right? Ideology can get into it, but it's more about human nature. Remember during COVID, remember a lot of folks on the right were very aware of statistical games, right? You have a town. Listen to this, right? Listen to what I'm about to say. You have a town that last month had 3 COVID deaths, right? 3 COVID deaths in a town of 10,000 people, right? The following month, they have 6 deaths from COVID, and the media reports on how COVID cases have doubled, right? Remember how many right wingers were very keen on this trick, right? They were very keen and very aware of statistical games, right? They said the media is manipulating us. They're just doing it. They're fear mongering. They're taking advantage of it. They're trying to make it seem like it's worse than it is, right? But now, right? Now that the media they're consuming that panders to the ideology is using the same tactic to fearmonger to them about crime, all of a sudden, this reasoning ability is removed. No longer are conservatives capable of recognizing one of the oldest statistical tricks in the book, right? Relative to the previous year, the numbers surged drastically. If you zoom in, right? If you zoom in, it's the same thing with like if you follow the stock market. If you zoom in too tight, things can look crazy. Look at that graph just shooting for the sky. Oh my goodness. 3 COVID deaths, now it's 6. It doubled. Oh my goodness, right? But if you zoom out to get a bigger, broader perspective, all of a sudden that bump is barely visible. Pan out and look at crime in the United States in the last 20 to 30 years. Look at the graphs and look at the lines and look at them from that perspective, from the 10, 20, 30 year perspective. Look at how tiny the COVID bump is relative to that wide perspective going back that far. Look at how tiny it is when you take a deep breath, put your emotions aside, and look at the data and think for yourself rather than let the media tell you how to think. Oh my goodness, crime is surging and they're just shooting people. Listen, man, they have been pushing people on the subway tracks for decades. They have been robbing people in the subway for decades. Do we remember that woman that got raped in Central Park? Right? There have been rapes, there have been murders. All this stuff has always happened. Way, way back decades ago, when I used to go to nightclubs and come home when the sun is coming up, right? In those days that I felt comfortable just riding on the subway, and it wasn't just me, everybody was out there doing that. Nobody was talking about, oh, crime, right? We coming home at 5, 6 in the morning, at a time where crime was way higher than it is now. People were pushing people on the subway. They were doing all this stuff at that time. But yet we fall for these games that the media plays. There is a surge in crime after the pandemic. You report on that, connect it to the pandemic, and you present it as, oh my goodness! Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't pay attention to this and you shouldn't do something about this and you shouldn't take it seriously. Sure. But look at it from a rational, logical standpoint, not from an emotional, oh my goodness, crime. Like, come on. And the thing about it is so bad that it's not. This is not a right wing thing, man. This is one of the things that got me inspired to even start thinking like this, and thinking that I wanted to share with you guys my thoughts on this. Because I noticed that liberals, right? I talked to some folks in New York City, liberal leaning people, I assume, and they're terrified too. So it's not just like, oh, Fox News, whatever. I hear people talking about Subway, they shooting people and they whatever. They have in their minds this vision of New York City that is straight off of the news, whose like their business model is to make you scared, to keep you clicking, to keep you sharing the post and engaging like, oh my goodness, right? Meanwhile, I go to where crime actually is serious, gang territory, and I'm relaxed, right? At night, most dangerous part of town, I'm relaxed. Me, the risk averse person, the person who many would say I think too much, right? I'm not the naive, just kind of like, whatever. I'm the one who's thinking too much. That's how my brain works. I'm always thinking about stuff. I want to understand stuff. I'm always like, what's this? What's that? What? And yet I can go in the most danger, like an actual danger, like a real, like gang territory, and I'm chilling because I have a rational view on reality. My view on the world is not based on the way it's portrayed through the news media for maximizing of their profits, right? Even in that dangerous area that I was. Now, like I said, when I did that live stream, I'm not gonna go like walking on foot down some dark alley, right? I went to a restaurant to get some food, and I was comfortable. Sitting in my car, I was comfortable. Now, I don't have this idea that somebody couldn't creep up on me at any time, put a gun to the windshield, but it's just not on that level. It's not on that cartoonish level. Yes, there's high crime there, but it's not to the point where you can't just like, go about your business, mind your business, don't mess with people, leave people alone, right? And if you're not in any gang, you're not messing with anybody, right? And you're alert, right? The same when I cross the street, I don't cross the street terrified, but the odds of me getting hit by a car are low because I look left, I look right. Something I learned from watching Sesame Street, right? So I know there's a lot of fatalities of pedestrians getting hit by cars, but I can cross the street comfortably. I just simply pay attention. I look left, I look right, right? I cross and I stay alert as I cross the street. I go in the hood, I watch my back, I pay attention, I'm aware of my surroundings. I'm relaxed. I don't even need to have a weapon on me. Yes, something could happen. Something can happen anywhere at any time. But I think the most important thing for me is paying attention, being alert, right? Being aware of your surroundings. I would rather be unarmed in the most dangerous part of town and fully alert, right? Using some common sense, right? Than to be fully armed in a safe part of town and not paying attention to my surroundings, right? I would rather be deep in the hood with no weapons, paying attention, being alert, right? Having situational awareness, than being in a safe part of town with all the guns you can think about, not paying attention, all on my phone, right? Zoned out. It's one of the reasons why I've never been drunk in my life. I want to be aware of what's going on around me. I never want to be just roaming around and not being, and again, it may sound like looking over my shoulder. No, I just pay attention, right? You don't have to be like, oh my goodness, somebody's gonna get me. No, I just pay attention, right? Right. I've moved out of the hood since then, but I've lived in multiple hoods. I grew up around a lot of violence. There's a lot of violence in school for me. Junior high, high school, a lot of blood was shed. Teachers, students, right? Police officers. Very, very violent. Most of my friends from high school are either dead or in jail. That's where I come from. But in my adult life, where I did live, is staying alert, using common sense, using my discretion, right? Having some strategy to how I move. I haven't had a problem with crime, right? One time I had a crime issue was when I was 22, store got robbed by knife point. Even then, no one got hurt. Now, unfortunately, other people haven't been so lucky. But again, I look at things from a rational standpoint. I'm not going to let MSNBC, Fox News, independent media fairmonger me about, oh, crime, crime, crime. Right? Same thing with gas prices. When you correct for inflation, gas prices are just about what not what they've always been, but I mean, it's not unfamiliar, the prices that we're paying now. The thing about it, the logical assessment, looking at the data and not thinking with your feelings, facts over feelings, is that gas prices got to a point where they were super, super low, right? And we got used to it. And I guess we got a little spoiled, right? You know, like, let's say, for example, if the cost of food goes down by 40%, the 40% that you save, you're going to use that for something else. You're not going to just save it. Most people aren't going to just save it, right? So gas prices go down, doesn't cost as much. You spend that extra money on something else. Then when the prices go back up, all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, this, even though you were paying that much or more in the past. And then you watch the media, and the media tells you, oh my goodness, gas prices are through the roof. It's a 10-year high. How many people, answer this question, how many media sources, independent, corporate, left-wing, or right-wing, when they talk about gas prices, how many of them in that conversation even mention inflation in the context of the prices? I'm not saying talking about inflation is happening right now. How many of them tell you what gas price? They all pretend as if $4 today was $4 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. That's not the case. $4 today does not buy you what it used to buy you, right? So when we say gas is $4, that $4 20 years ago was not $4 in terms of the value of money has changed. So if you're really paying for gas prices relative to your, this imagined, everything, good old days, just the good old days, right? Everybody has this fantastical vision of how things used to be. You want to really know what gas prices are relative to this idea you have in your mind, right, of what it used to be. Pick that time at which you think gas prices were so low or they weren't as high as they are now, and correct for inflation, and then make your assessment. That's how you make a logical assessment, right? You have to first assess what was the actual cost relative to the value of money today. Only then can you make an assessment of how high or how low the prices are. Or again, you can focus on the moment, right? Zoom in so close. When you zoom in really close to data that is time, something that's relative to time, right? When you zoom in, small zoomed in perspective. That's why you got to zoom out so you can calm your emotions down and actually understand what the data means, right? So you can focus on relative to 2 years ago, gas prices was $2, now it's $4, right? Fine, fine. I'm not saying that's not the case, but when you start saying, this is a 10-year high and a 20-year high, and you're basically repeating the rhetoric that you hear in the media, which is their business is in fairmongering to you for profit. That's not how you do it, man. You've got to think for yourself. Don't let the media tell you how high gas prices are relative to the past. Check for yourself. How much was it a gallon 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Then correct for inflation, right? $4 in 2000. How much is it in 2022? $3 per gallon 20 years from now, 20 years in the past, $3 per gallon 20 years in the past, right? What would that look like in today's money? If you have never even done that thought experiment, that means you have no clue what gas costs right now. I know many people get upset with me and say, I know what you call that's the bill, blah, 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 blah. Emotion. That's all emotion. You cannot make an assessment of how much gas costs today versus how much it used to cost without considering the change in the value of the dollar then versus now. You cannot make an assessment of how dangerous things are now relative to your vision of what it used to be, right? Without actually looking at the data. You may feel like things are out of control because the media is telling you that, but until you actually look at the data and see what the data actually shows, right? And not just, again, the zoom in view versus 2020. No. What were the crime statistics 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Right? We need to calm down and stop letting these corporations and these greedy individuals in independent media who make a living from fear-mongering or otherwise playing with your emotions. We need to humble ourselves, put our ego aside, and realize we all got this mushy brain that's easy to manipulate. Stop worrying about other people that are getting manipulated. And remember, you human too. You are human too. I will end this live stream and make one particular point of an example of manipulation. Let me see who's there. Andrew is in the house. I will come in a second, but I want to end with this particular point. It's interesting, Andrew joined because we'll talk about motorcycles and the crime thing. You were in that other stream where I mentioned it as well. Anyway, so talk about manipulation of humans, and here's a real world example. So I had an unfortunate situation in my life that was not that long ago that I was selling mops, right? I was a guy that was, successful, had a nice job. Unfortunately, the job market went away from me for some time. I struggled to get my footing. I couldn't. I eventually ran out of money. I needed to pay the bills. Found this job online, some job app person, and it was selling mops in supermarkets, right? I would go on the loudspeaker, make some announcement. In exactly 15 minutes, we're going to be giving away prizes, a special gift, blah, 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 just to listen to a presentation or whatever, blah, 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 right? I was selling mops for $40. But the example I wanted to bring up relative to how easy it is to manipulate people, and this is an example of why I wouldn't do well in sales. No offense to people who are in sales, but I just don't have that savage nature that, in my opinion, I think is, you got to be partially savage to be successful in sales. That's my opinion. You can disagree with me, whatever. I feel that way because maybe I'm just not good at it. I don't know, whatever. But I feel like to be successful in sales, a lot of times, you have to not really care about anything beyond your pitch, turning a sale, right? You just want to get those numbers. You want to get I don't remember, this is so long ago now. It's not that long ago, but I don't remember all the terminology, but basically it's all about how many of these items I'm going to sell. There's quotas I need to meet to get certain commission levels. I think to get more commission based on how many I sell. Like you gotta like, I did cold calling as well about how many calls you're making. You don't have time to worry about, is this something that this person actually wants? Is this actually an appropriate product for them? You can't be thinking about that, man. You just gotta be sell. The minute that the second that you stop to think about empathy and all this kind of questions and stuff, you lost the sale, right? So anyway, I they trained us on a lot of tactics, sales tactics, so I could sell these goddamn mops for $40. And um, I remember I was having trouble at a certain store. Um, I think it was more a working class area. So I think this is very interesting to share this story. I think I need to clip this out to a separate video, but it's like a more working class area. And you see me, I'm well spoken, whatever. Um, so I wasn't doing very well in that store. I had done very well in general um, with the sales, um, but in this particular store, I was struggling. So my manager, who has a lot of sales experience, his advice to me, his observing what was happening, he felt that I was I was coming across kind of, I don't want to say elitist, but again, it's like working class area, right? And I come in and I'm using these fancy words, and I just don't sound like them, right? So the impression is, I'm some slick back guy trying to sell them some garbage, but these are we're not gonna fall for that stuff. Like we're working class people. Like you're not gonna come in here with your slick whatever, like mumbo jumbo, like $40 mop. Hell no, right? He said to me that that tension was what the issue was. He illustrated to me an example of where he had this problem at a store, and he basically, um, it's kind of disgusting, but he pretended like he had a mental issue. He literally pretended. So this is a story he's telling me. He pretended like he had a mental issue, and he just did his pitch in that way, in character, right? And he said why he did that, because he he was able to get these working class people to look at him as not a threat, right? Instead of him going in sounding like some college educated whatever, right? Now he's just some guy who is not all there. So these working class people would feel in a superior position, like we are, we are our we are, let's just, for lack of a better word, I don't know what I wanted to say, but we're sharper than you, right? Here's a guy with mental issues trying to sell us a mop. Like, really, right? So what happens is they relax, right? They relax, and once they relax, they're able to listen and hear what he's saying. And that's the critical thing that he always said about our sales pitch, right? The sales pitch was designed in a specific way to present a specific message. And if you don't think politicians do the same thing that I'm talking about, this type of stuff, to manipulate you and the media, you're sadly mistaken. But anyway, the sales pitch was designed to present a certain message, to evoke certain emotions, which would lead you to the highest probability of buying what we were selling, right? But in order for the magic of that pitch to work, you had to actually listen to what I was saying or what we were saying. But if you are not really listening because you're on guard, because you're like, oh, this elite guy, college guy, you think we're dumb. We're not dumb. We know you're just trying to, you know what I mean? Like, and then in that mode, they're not really listening to you, right? So they don't get the message, so there it doesn't work. So you don't sell as much. So when he pretended like he was, he was having mental issues, that was able to get the audience to relax and listen. And once they listened to this carefully crafted script that was designed by people who are trained in manipulation of people, right? They study human behavior, right, in the context of sales, and they know how to manipulate you. They know the kinds of things that, like objections that you have in your mind, they've heard it all. So they put it all into the script to address all of those things, or to make it seem like they're addressing it, so that at the end of the pitch, the maximum amount of people will actually buy. And he said that worked for him. Now, I didn't do that particular tactic, and I don't remember what I did, but I did change like the way I was speaking in some way. I didn't go to the like panic, I have a mental issue, but I think I may have like dumbed down what I was saying, or something to that effect. But another short example is I had a crowd one day in a supermarket, right? And I'm beginning my pitch, and this lady, she walks up from the back and she's like, "How long is this gonna be?" Now, I'm the polite guy, believe it or not. You may see me getting a little loud in my videos or whatever, but I'm like the super polite guy who gets along with everyone. Um, so, and I'm also very empathetic, right? I don't like bothering people, right? So that's another reason I don't sales, because if you come to me and you are interested in something, I'll gladly tell you all about it. I love to share information. I love to teach, right? I love to help people, right? But if you walk into to my store and you don't come to me, I don't want to come to you because I'm afraid, like, you just want to, you just like window shopping. You don't want to be bothered, right? I don't like, I think about like the idea of like someone just trying to, you know, be left alone, and then I'm coming like, hey, trying to sell you stuff. Like, that's how I think, right? So when she comes, she says to me, "How long is this gonna be?" I feel guilty. I'm taking up their time to try and sell them some $40 mop, right? My nature is to like, well, it's not gonna be so long, man, blah blah blah. But before I spoke, right, that's me. That's who I am as a person. That's how I would treat that situation. But then I reflected on my training, and I remember my manager taught me that you have to take on a posture of, we don't need your money, we don't need your business. What we're selling is the most amazing thing ever. And anybody with any common sense would know that. And they will know that, and they will buy from us, right? So I don't need anything from you. So I'm not going to try to be nice to you and like, oh, no, right? I got the most amazing product, and I'm here to enlighten these people who are going to get it, right? And if it's not for you, it's not for you. I know that this is going to sell out like crazy, right? That is the attitude that he taught us to use. So before I spoke and responded to this lady who comes to me and says, hey, how long is it going to be? I reflected on this, and reluctantly, I did what I was trained to do, right? I looked at her and I said, "Ma'am, if you don't have time, you can leave." That is rude as hell. The idea that you are trying to sell a $40 mop to people who just want to get their ice cream or whatever, they have kids waiting at home, like they got stuff going, and you're going to take up 15 minutes of their time to talk to them about mops and then try to get them to pay $40 for this thing. And then you got the nerve to be snippy with someone who, like, she actually, what's the word? Like, I should feel grateful that she would even bother to come over and even attempt to listen to my presentation. How dare I be snippy with her? That's the way I think, right? But the training said you have to act as if they need you, you don't need them, right? You're not worried if she leaves. You're not desperate to sell anything because what you have is amazing. So I was snippy with her as trained. She stayed, listened to my entire 15-minute presentation, and bought 2. She spent $80 on mops after I was rude to her when she asked a simple, fair question of how long this is going to be. I manipulated her into purchasing the product that I was selling based on using the training that I was given, which basically has a lot of manipulation tactics, right? I manipulated her, that I sent a message to her that I don't care if she stays or leaves, right? Why is it that I don't care if she stays or leaves? The product must be amazing. If I had been nice to her and said, "Ma'am, it's probably gonna be like 15 minutes," she would have left, and half the crowd would have left. Can you imagine if I said to her, "It's gonna be 15 minutes, just be patient"? She would have left, and half the crowd would have left, and then the half that stayed, half of them would have left halfway through the presentation. 7 minutes in, first of all, they would have just been thinking the whole time, "Oh man, 15 minutes, for some gift," and they're thinking the gift probably is not even that good, and it wasn't, right? And they're gonna one by one start leaving. But when that crowd sees me not worried about this lady, telling her she can leave, she stayed and she bought two, right? That is me after a short amount of training from some people very skilled and stuff. The media, especially corporate media, they have decades of experience in knowing how to manipulate you. Independent media basically just follows what corporate media does and accelerates a lot of their tactics. So even though they may not understand a lot of the techniques they're using necessarily, since they are just mirroring what they see in corporate media while pretending to be better than corporate media, some of those same tactics are being employed on you. Fear-mongering. Crime is out of control, right? Gas prices are out of control, right? Now, I know some people are gonna, they're gonna point out to me that there are real issues with prices, and there are, right? I mean, we have a global crisis going on. A lot of things have increased in price, and if you're on the lower end of the scale in terms of financially, overall, you are going to see a significant impact, right? But that's the overall picture, right? But specific things like gas prices, the narrative, the way they present it versus reality, are not the same. There's a divide between the reality of gas prices now versus how the media presents it. Whether it's liberal media or conservative media, they're both doing it, right? They're both on this gas prices, because that gets more clicks. Almost none of them are willing to tell you what gas costs now relative to the past with inflation considered. Who has done that? Do you know anyone, left-wing, right-wing media, who has talked about how high gas prices, who have ever done the correction in terms of the change in the value of the dollar? $4 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago versus today? Or do they all pretend as if $4 today is worth the same as it's always been? If we didn't have inflation, if that didn't exist, then yes, gas prices are through the roof and it's insane, right? But because of the fact that the value of money has changed over time, gas prices are not quite as high as, in my view, most people think it is. And this is this is bipartisan. Liberal media is doing it as well, right? Liberal media is doing it, especially conservative media is doing it, right? And again, the perspective of the cost of everything, right? If you add up food and everything, yes, it's a significant impact, especially if you don't have that much money. If you look at your expenses month to month, I'm sure it's something that is a big deal. Remember, right? I was the guy selling the $40 mops, right? If I didn't sell as many mops as I needed, many times I had to figure out which bill I can pay and cannot pay. When your money is that tight, small changes have big impacts. So I have the benefit of being in that situation. Like, I'm not some guy born with money in some bubble that I don't get it. I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to, the mentality of, if anything breaks, it's a problem. If anything breaks, it's a problem, right? People who have struggled know exactly what I'm talking about. If anything breaks, it's a problem. What if you drop your phone? What if your hard drive fails? What if your laptop fails? What if a bird flies in the window of your house and breaks the window? What if you get a flat tire? Right? What if you simply need an oil change? Check engine light comes on. Right? What if your brakes fail and you need to change them? I know what it's like to be super, super tight to where any unexpected expense is a problem. You barely have enough to pay the stuff that you need to pay that's consistent, your bills that are consistent, right? Much less a sudden surprise cost. Something breaks, anything breaks. The idea of replacement being a nightmare. You have to replace something, right? You have this thing that works, whatever it is. Your TV works. You have one TV and it works, right? If you got money, you don't even think about that. But if you don't have money, you realize if that TV breaks, you got a problem. You're gonna go into Walmart and spend $300 on a new TV. Where's that $300 gonna come from? Right? So trust me, I get it. So the overall picture in terms of cost going up, that's legit because so many things have increased in cost, right? So all I'm pointing out, right? I'm not saying that that there are not issues with gas prices or inflation or costs going up, or even crime. So I want to be very, very clear on that. All I'm saying is the reality of these things that the media is talking about is not the same as the perception that they are conveying to you in their content. The world that they paint in their content is a fantasy world. If you follow the media, that world that they're talking about, I couldn't do this live stream because crime is through the roof, right? In the time that I've been standing here, there have been like 3 or 4 shootings, right? Oh, look, some lady just got robbed. Some guy just, like, nothing's happening, right? I was in the hood, dangerous neighborhood, nothing happening. I go there many times. I don't even hear, I mean, I think I've heard a couple times, like, I'm like, is that a gunshot? But that's unusual, right? I hardly even see, I mean, sometimes, I go through the hood and there's certain streets, I see cop cars pulled up and they're just kind of like, I don't know what they're doing, like nothing's really going on, right? Even in the really bad neighborhoods, I roll through and I don't really see much happening. Now, obviously, anyone that has been a victim of crime will be adamantly against what I'm saying, right? But that applies to everything, right? To the guy that has cancer right now, stage 4 cancer, that reality sucks. But what I'm talking about is, I'm talking about statistically speaking, the odds, and it's another thing, again, the inconsistent of the reasoning skills, right? Back during, deep in the pandemic, during COVID, right? A lot of conservatives were well aware of statistics, like, for example, they kept talking about you're more likely to die from this and that than you are from COVID, right? When it's convenient to the narrative being promoted by the media that is pandering to you, they understand these concepts, right? When it's inconvenient, that level of reasoning is removed. The odds of you being a victim of many of these crimes that you see on the news is extremely low. There are many things, like, we can play that same COVID game, we can play it with crime, right? Every time they go list, you're more likely to die from this, you're more likely to die from that. Same thing for crime, right? There's all this preoccupation about how high crime is and crime is surging, but yet there's so many other things that are much more likely to kill you. Obesity, heart disease, and the concern is they knew this during COVID, right? They were the ones telling you this stuff about all the things that can kill you. But all of a sudden, because the media that's pandering to them is talking about, afraid that crime is out of control, all of a sudden there's no level of remembering of like all these other things that are far more dangerous. Why are we so focused on this out of control crime and we're not focused on things that are highly much more probable to kill you? Is that rational? Same we said, is it rational to worry about disease that 99.9%? Well, what do you think? Don't you think the same statistic? 99.9% of you guys listening to me right now is not going to be a victim of violent crime anytime soon. Why is that not comforting? Right? All this talk about crime, crime, crime. Right? COVID, COVID. There's all these things that are big dangerous and you're not thinking about that. Right? Well, that still applies. Right? Go look up the statistic. What are the odds that you're a victim of violent crime? Most of you don't even live in the hood. You're not even living in dangerous areas. Right? But all you gotta do, all the media do is pick out stories of like this guy got shot, this lady, whatever. That has been happening for eternity. It's not new. Right? It's not new. Anyway, on that note, I wish I guess I'll take a little walk. I was gonna grab one of those bikes, but I want to see what your comments are. See, fuck you pronouns is in the house. I'm so behind. Goodness. If you guys see any of those crazy liberal criminals, am I going the right? I think I'm going the right way. No, I gotta go this way. If you guys see any of those crazy, I'm in a violent. If you guys see anybody creeping up on me, let me know, okay? Because I want to, you know, I don't want to end you. Gets hit on the head with a hammer by some crazy mental guy. So let me know, man. All right. Anyway, on that note, let me read your comments. There's the police. Let me get close to them. They'll keep me safe. Maybe not. Anyway, Andrew, I'd rather deal with crime than mess. So Andrew says he'd rather get robbed. Andrew said he'd rather get robbed than wear a mask. Bro, clearly he doesn't live in a high crime area. He's like mask. I don't want to wear a mask. Let me see. Also, I gotta zoom in. Can I zoom in on this chat? I'm an old man. Apparently not. All right, let me stop. I can't read these small letters while I'm walking. Also, crime was not telling you how to live or social distance or threatening your employment if you don't take experimental Fauci sauce. Hey, listen, Andrew, don't you dare talk about my boy Fauci, man. That's my boy. That's the what are the HIV king? Also, crime was not telling you. What is that? It wasn't about convenience. It was just annoying to have to wear a mask in blazing heat. Okay, I will say that is an example. I'll keep it real with you guys. That's an example. So the mask stuff, I'm gonna keep it real with you. The mask stuff is something that I was definitely in a I'm trying to zoom in the text and I actually zoom in the video. The mask is something that I was definitely in a bubble on, an elite bubble. So because of the work that I do and being able to work remotely, I was able to avoid. Um, I was able to avoid. Like I didn't have a job where like I have to be wearing this damn mask all day, right? So it's easy for me to not care about mask stuff, um, and wear it. Like I wore it when I needed it, right? Not when I didn't. I didn't wear it just because people said to wear it. Like I listened to the information, listened to the science, and based on that, I wore it when it was needed, right? So I was able to do that and not have it be a big deal because of the fact that I was privileged enough to not have to have a job. Like I'm not working in a restaurant where I got to wear it all day. So I had a couple of times where I wore it for a while, and it is super annoying, right? Well, here's an example. Actually, this is interesting. So I wear a mask for construction work, working on the house, right? Like now I'm trying to clean up the basement, and there's a lot of dust down there, and who knows what is in that dust. This is like an over 100-year-old house. I mean, right? Asbestos. Like who knows what's in there. So I will what you call it? I will wear like one of those masks from Home Depot to to filter out whatever crap is in there, and it's annoying. Like it gets you're it's like you can't really. I don't know if I have breathing problems, but it's like your face gets hot, and it's just annoying. It would be an entirely different story if I had to wear a mask all day long. So for all the people that are complaining about it, that are in that situation, I do respect that it's much big of a deal for you than it is for me. Because for me, what's my experience? Put it on for 30 minutes in a supermarket. Like, you know what I mean? I'm good. I'm like a shopping spree shopper. Like, in and out. I like boom, grab this, grab that. I'm in, I'm out. So not that long of a time. So I could care less about having to wear a mask in a store. Um, I wear it during like an Uber ride. That's actually a longer time because I might be in an Uber for a longer period of time. But it's something I was able to avoid. So keeping it real. And also, I will keep it real on another level. So even though um, I have been hanging out in the hood, that's because I choose to, right? It's not different going in the hood when I choose to because I choose to than living there. But I've also lived there as well, so that makes it a little different. I mean, that was just where I lived. That was my environment. That was a 24/7 thing. But that is no longer the case for me now. I go there by choice. So it's a little different than for someone. See, this is kind of a dark alley. This is where it goes down. So I gotta watch my back. Anybody following me? Anybody anybody hiding over here? Okay, looks like I'm good. I'm good. Anybody hiding behind this corner? Any okay, I'm good. I'm good. Gotta. What is it? Crime wave. Oh my goodness. Crime wave, New York City. The blue cities are on fire. Anyway, let's see what else you guys got going. Rocket Man, what up? There's a shortage of diesel fuel right now. Yeah, I was seeing that recently. I'm not sure why, but I did hear that there was a talk about that. Man, there's a shortage of so much stuff right now. Your basement is not Southern California. Yes, valid point. Valid point. I'm in a basement, 60 degrees, 60 degrees, 55 degrees, something like that. So wearing a mask in that environment is not quite the same thing. I can't, as a matter of fact, I can't imagine. I've never been in a we call it a heated environment wearing a mask. I can't imagine what it's like. It's uncomfortable enough just in a normal room temperature type situation. So, and just in the spirit of what I said earlier, right, talking about being aware of your surroundings, even though I'm chilling and I'm laughing and giggling or whatever, I am live streaming. This is typically a situation where most people would be very distracted, but all the while I'm goofing around and talking to you guys, I'm still paying attention. I am observing who's around me. There's a couple people that I saw that, I checked them out, see what are they up to. So that's just me, man. It's like how I'm on a motorcycle. Always have your head on a swivel. I also know that people seeing me walking by, talking loudly into my phone, the right person sees this, they're gonna think this guy's not even paying attention. All right. So I'm also making myself a target by being loud. I'm by myself. I'm looking at my phone. So I'm going to be catching the attention of people, right? So if I catch the wrong person's attention, and they might say, this guy looked like he, let me go pick his pocket or whatever. So I'm aware of that. So I think I'm being a little bit more alert because I am considering the way that I appear to people that I'm walking by. Now, if I was just quietly walking by, minding my own business, to me that's a lower threat, because you're not drawing attention to yourself, but I'm drawing attention to myself for sure right now. Anyway, let's see. And it's also nighttime. Nighttime is where more things tend to happen. I'm not 100% familiar with the area that I'm in right now. There's not that many people around, as you can see. So this is a perfect opportunity for certain characters. This is a crime wave after all. I can tell you one thing. I've certainly spooked a couple of women. I got a couple looks from some of them. Death wish. What's the death wish? Rocket Man Matrix says I have a death wish. Isn't that something Trump said to Mitch McConnell or something? What you talking about, Willis? Paul Keir. What is that? Paul Kerry to fight crime in the city. Da-da-da-da-da. Crime fighters. Farsi. Let's see those. Gas prices are going up again. They're going up, they're going down, they're going up again, they're going down. So now I'm going into an area that I suspect is a more problematic area. Not that big of a deal, but this is I definitely got the vibe. I got the vibe that this is an area to be more alert. Especially, remember I said when I was in the hood, it's one thing when you're like, I'm in my car and then I'm getting out to get food and that kind of stuff. But when you're on foot, it's a little different. Especially it's like a dark area like this. And I get the impression, I don't know if you saw that little kid just by himself or herself. I get the impression this is like low income housing or something. So I don't know don't know how this area is, but it certainly it certainly looks like the type of area to be not to get caught slipping, as they say. Don't want to get caught slipping here. Half stepping. Okay. What else we got going? Fuck your pronouns is in the house. Look at that. You see a rat? Look at that. The rat. That's a rat right there. You see that? That's a rat. Look at that. Look at that. That's a rat. Oh man. Look at that. You see this guy? I zoomed in. You couldn't even see it. That's a goddamn rat. Look at two of them. Oh man. Look at that. 2 rats. 3 of them. Wow. That's crazy. Look at this. Wow. That's bananas. I've never seen so many rats. Wow. That was crazy. That's how you see squirrels, right? You might see 2, 3 squirrels running around. I ain't never seen 3, 4, 5 rats just running wild. What is going on? That's crazy. And listen, it's not that I've never seen a rat before. I was kind of being a little facetious when I saw the first rat. So, because it's a city, you see rats once in a while. But I ain't never seen no 3, 4, 5 of them just running out in the open like that. Remember pizza? Was it pizza rat or whatever? What was it? Rat pizza. There was some video, famous, a picture someone took, I think, of a rat with a pizza slice. Okay, here's where it goes down. See, there's a crowd of people, and it's just me by myself, and it's kind of a empty alley. Now you guys are about to see Crime Wave 2022. Oh no, we're good. I'm happy. We're good. Relax. No need to call the cops, guys. I'm good. I'm all right. One of them had a cowboy hat on. It can't be that dangerous. Anyway, what else we got going? How do you just see Pelosi and Schumer? What? Wait, what? How did you just see Pelosi? Wait. Are you calling my boy Pelosi a rat? Better not be saying that, man. You could do all those things you're doing now and be, what is it? RA, and be that much better off. What? I could do all those things right now and what? You could do it right now and be armed and be that much better. Yo, Andrew, what you talking about? You want me to kill them rats? Why you want me to kill them rats? They're cute little rats. Man, you're violent, bro. Andrew's violent. Look at this. You know what that is. You know what it is. You know exactly what that is. Right. No more words need to be spoken. Crime Wave 2022. Assaulted by a Christmas tree. Bah, bah, bah. Now we're getting down to some real... Oh. For a split second, I thought I was going the wrong way. That would really suck. Can you imagine? I'm walking the wrong way, going to the wrong side of town, busy talking my ass off on this live stream. And then I gotta go all the way back where I came from. What is this place that's empty? It's a big ass place. There's nobody in there. Looks brand new. I guess it's like a food court type thing. And they got an A rating. That means the food is fresh. All right, what else? What is you guys saying? Hey, did you just? I hope I never see you get. All right, guys. I am going to end the live stream before something happens. Got to pay attention to my surroundings because it's dangerous out here. It's dangerous out here in the hood. Bomb, 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 bomb. I'm out here in the hood in New York City, all by myself in the dark. Anything can happen at any moment, at any time, because we're in the middle of crime wave 2020. Look at this gangster right here on a bike. Look at that. It's just a delivery guy. It's tough out here. It's dangerous. Anybody you talk to could be a gangster, a criminal, a rapist. People are getting hit by cars. It's bananas. You got terrorist attacks. You got Giuliani getting slapped in the face. Oh, my bad. Sorry, that's inappropriate. Making fun of old people. All right, let me focus and stop creeping people out all night. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Get your mind out the gutter. Get your mind out the gutter. Until next time, signing off. Leaving you with the beautiful views of the nighttime skyline. Looking at all the lights. So I gotta say, out of all this is probably the biggest risk. And it's not that I'm in a bad area. It's just that this is a perfect location for something to go down. For reals, yo. Even in those other places that were kind of lonely, they weren't this lonely. Like, there's not many people out here at all, right? I'm separated by like these sort of bushes and stuff from other people. So it's kind of like this is a nice little setup for something to go down. So in my view, I actually felt more comfortable in the hood in my car than I do right now. I'm still chilling, but my spidey senses are definitely higher than they have been all night, because again, this is a prime spot. Because one of the key things is if you're going to do something, you don't want to be seen, you don't want to get caught, and where I'm at right now allows that to happen. Some guy is just sitting here on the bench, and as I walk by, he notices there's nobody over here, nobody over there, and then he tries to run up on me, and then I deck him in the face. Blow! Cold. He's out. You just got knocked the fuck out. Ha ha ha. All right, now I'm getting real crazy now. But seriously, I'm gonna stop live streaming and give my full attention to my surroundings, because this is not the place to be caught slipping. So those women that you saw jogging earlier are asking for it. Jogging by yourself down here? No. Not very smart. But that's my opinion. Anyway, I'm out, guys. I'm out!